Hi, this is W0TM, also known as WOTM. The W0TM, by the way, is my ham radio call letters. If you just put that into Google or any ham radio site or whatever, you'll find me. I've been in ham for 55 years, and when I got on YouTube in, I think, 2007, I didn't know what name to pick, and anyway I picked W0TM, and I kind of kept that. Nobody knows what, very people knows what it means. And right now you're staring at our mix, mostly Border Collie. Name is Blaze, and instead of a picture of me or a card that says the Gary Ennis, W0TM channel, or who knows. You'd rather look at a dog. He's a nice dog. He really is. And he's chewing on some yogurt right now. We all like yogurt. And he's got a friend here. Let's see if I can point it. There we go. Yeah, that is our daughter's dog. He's visiting for a while. I'll put it back on Blaze. If you're motion sickness, I apologize. Here, I won't move it again, I promise. Because you really don't want to look at me, you don't want to look at a card, and I don't have any video to go with this or anything. Title of this is Obama, President for Life. And I've got proof, written proof. It's in the House Judiciary written records. I mean, how much more proof can you get than that? And I'm going to prove it to you right now, and then I'm going to explain some details. Most anything I say these days can get me in a heck of a lot of trouble. At my age, I don't care. Plus, I have had attempts, I'll just call them attempts, made on me a couple of times. And I have 9 lives, I guess. I think I'm on the 8th one right now, so maybe I'll use the last one. I haven't been on for a while. I apologize for that. I've had some health problems. I may go into the health problems in a later video because I still need some help. It has to do with entomology, which is a fancy word for the study of insects. I think I'm getting better of it, but anyway, I've got a list. I've had requests. For some reason or another, I used to have quite a following on the videos, and even on an email that I put out, like 15,000. Finally got to the point that my email provider told me you needed a website, and I didn't do that. But I do have a website, but I'm not. It's not active right now. Get my foot out of the way. Anyway, I'm going to let you read along with me on this. And by gosh, we're going to just prove it. If you like Obama, you're going to say, wow, that's great. If you don't like him, you can say, oh my God, that can't be true. Well, it is, and I can tell you how it's going to happen, or probably going to happen, and why it's going to happen. So go to Google. If you can bring up 2 browsers at one time, let me go to Google right now, and I'm looking at type in HJ space RES space the number 5. I'll say that again. HJ space RES space 5. And then hit the little whatever that icon is, and it'll come up and it'll say H period, J period, RES period 5, Open Congress. You can go to that as well, which is www.opencongress.org, and find it on there, but it'll take you a while. And then it's the very first one. It's just click on it, and it'll bring you up to what that HJRES5 is. It was done in 2009, and I'll tell you why it was done then, and the date and everything else. It reads, read along with me if you like, read and weep or read and say yay, either one, 114th Congress, HJRES.5, proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to repeal the 22nd article of amendment, thereby removing the limitation on the number of terms an individual may serve as president. I won't read that again. You can read it again and again and again and again. Show it to your friends. Nobody's going to believe it. I show it to, I tell people and they don't believe it, and then they finally read it and they say, well, I won't tell you what they say. I've got a certain set of friends that have their own vocabulary. Anyway, they then want to know details, which I'm going to go into. Let's see, why the heck is that? Well, as you probably know, FDR was considering a third term, and there were enough people that didn't want him in as a third term. They passed an amendment limiting the president, unlike members of Congress, which, quite frankly, I'd be in favor of limiting to 1 or 2 terms, limiting to 2 4-year terms, and that's it. Well, with this, where this and okay, now we're going to get into details. Where was this? It's thank heavens for oh goodness, I'll think of their name in a minute. They've now formed a group of they just call them readers, people that read documents. Do you know there's 40,000 documents, pieces of paper, websites, web pages added, whatever, to the government? I think it's just federal governments. Every day of, I think it's business, business days. I don't know if it includes weekends or not. 40,000 of those. How would you like to read 40,000 of those? Well, they've got like 200 or 300 readers. The reason is that some time ago, a Heritage Foundation, that's it, Heritage Foundation, discovered, written on the back of a menu for a state dinner for Queen Elizabeth, who was visiting George Bush or somebody. Anyway, George Bush. Yeah, it was George Bush. So it's not just the Democrats that have been doing this. Republicans have been doing it too for a while. How long, I don't know. There's a rule or a law or something that says unless, and don't quote me because it's somewhere in government law somewhere, it says unless something is top secret or will be injurious to the country or cost the life of somebody or whoever, it must, anything that is official, could be turned into a law or whatever, must be published somewhere on a document, a federal document. Well, they found printed upside down in letters so small that it took a magnifying glass to read it on the back of a menu for Queen Elizabeth was doing a state dinner of the United States, and on the back of a menu, there it was. They found it and had to get a magnifying glass to even read it. What it said, I have no idea. Then they started going back and looking at other documents that just meant nothing at all. And finding little knickknacks of things that. Somebody decided, well, maybe somebody's not going to want to, publicize that or have it out, so we're going to we're going to meet the letter of law. We're going to have it printed somewhere, but it's going to be darn tough to find. And this one, where it was, there's a congressman, the congressman in District of Harlem, and I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. You'll have to look it up. He's run unopposed for like 17 terms. I mean, it's just forever. He's like 55, 60 years old, and he started running when he was a kid, and he's never been, not even opposed in a primary. But he's got a really nice website. Must have spent a lot of money on it. Whoever goes to it, I don't think probably nobody. Because he's in Harlem, and his constituency there in Harlem is probably not real involved in politics. There's a few of them, Al Sharpton and a few others that are involved in politics, but not many. But he spends big bucks on, 'cause where else does he have to spend the money? He gets a certain amount of dollars from the Democratic Party for him being in office. And also, he gets so much money, I read, that he contributes to other elections, other Democrats running around the country. The last election, or the 2010, whatever, 2010 I think it was, he had nobody running against him in the primary, nobody in general, but he collected over $3 million, which he then immediately sent a whole bunch of it off to the DNC, and sent more of it off to where the DNC told him to send it, which was in every case a Democratic challenger in some district that was marginal. That they were just about, Republicans were in the lead or close to it or whatever, and the money went off there. So, and he's also, by the way, but he's not keeping it. I guess they told him he couldn't, or at least for now. They'll probably let him keep it the last 4 or 5 terms. He was one of them, like, I'm trying to think of the presidential contender in Arkansas. Was it Huckabee, I think? Yeah. Don't hold me to this, but I believe he had been in Congress or wherever way back when, before they passed a law saying that money in your re-election campaign that was unspent, if you weren't going to run again or anything else, you got to keep that money. And way back when, there are some folks that collected a lot of money, didn't spend very much of it at all, for whatever reason. And Huckabee, I think, don't hold me to it, was one of them. He didn't run at all until the last minute for president. And when they made him, when they told him he had to do it, so that who was it ran for president anyway, was forced to run for president by pushing everybody else out of the way. That's just politics. Anyway, this HJRES5 buried on some back page of the website of this congressman from this district of Harlem, that probably nobody has ever read that except for some alert reader of that go through this. That's got to be a boring job. Congratulations to those folks. Thank you for doing it, because it's holding their feet to the fire. Because without that, who knows what they could print? Monday morning we're gonna, anybody doesn't vote for Obama, we're gonna lock them up or something. So you got to read that stuff and figure out what they're doing. So I dug into this. I talked to a few representatives, both Democrats and Republicans. And the Republicans, most of them I talked to were rhinos, quite frankly, and they just kind of ducked the issue and hummed and hawed and just wanted to go somewhere else. They had no interest in discussing it at all. What happened was that on January 1st, and President Obama didn't take office until January 20th, 2009. January, I think it was January 1st or 2nd or something like that. Earlier on, Congress starts meeting earlier, and but they really don't start getting together and doing stuff until like the 10th or 15th or whatever, But technically, legally, they're they're up and running earlier, so I guess they can get their offices in order and dust off the whatevers and stuff like that. Anyway, they there's a rule that says for any meeting that a Congress that a committee is going to have, you have to notify all of the members of the committee. And but it unfortunately it doesn't say how to, that it has to be, they've got to be notified in time to get the notification to get there in time and stuff like that. So in this one, what happened was what I was told. I was just told this, so I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. That the Democrats were all called, and this was late on January 1st, or when just nobody was in Washington, and they were all called about a half an hour before the meeting and told, we're going to have a committee meeting and be here or else, So they most of them didn't even know what it was about. Some did, but the Republicans, guess what? They got notified by mail, which was legal, about gosh, I don't know, days later. it was a ways off. Just the camera a little bit there. There we go. They were hopping mad because the HJRES 5 got passed on voice vote. All Democrats who voted, who was there, who was present, voice vote. No, nothing was taken. It was just marked down that there was enough people there for a quorum, and that's it. Now, bounce forward to well, not forward, but 2001 with the something's going on. Oh. Anyway, bounce to the Patriot Act that's got something in it that I don't know all of the. I used to know the words real well, but it basically says that if the president feels the country's in grave danger, he can commit, or he can declare martial law and do this and that and the other thing. And the other thing, President Obama discovered that something that Lincoln used to great effect, which is one reason why President Obama just adores Lincoln for all the stuff that Lincoln did with the executive orders. Executive orders were done clear back in like 1776. I mean, a long time ago, but it was done because way back when the representatives from out in the bushes, Kentucky and places like that, it would take them 2 or 3 months to get back to Washington D.C. to have a vote. Well, what would happen if Washington D.C. was invaded by France or something? You're going to wait 3 months to have for these representatives to come in from Kentucky, fight their way through the bushes and stuff like that to get back home to have a vote to go to war. And in that point in time, France has already taken over the capital, and the United States is no more. Well, you can't do that, so they did the executive order. Executive order, that's what it was meant for. Well, that's not what Barack Obama is using it for. He's got I'm told, a desk full of executive orders. Everything from everybody knows about them to secret, to top secret, to wow, this is so secret, it is something else. That many laws that have already been passed, for instance, like this one, it's by going through the committee, and then it went through the Senate on once again a voice vote. A bunch of Democratic senators sitting around at 11:45 on January 2nd or something like that p.m. and said yay, and then they went home, and then that was they were there for like 3 minutes or something like that. So all President Obama has to do to make that HJRES 5 into law is to have martial law, which can happen, and you can't look at YouTube today without seeing, a couple dozen. Martial law starts tomorrow. Martial law is, yada, yada, yada. And, well, I personally think we're probably headed that direction eventually, I would not be surprised, let me just say that. If it happens, all kinds of things can happen, and all kinds of laws that are in, the left drawer, the right drawer, the file cabinets. I mean, President Obama has probably got more executive orders already waiting for his signature than, the old adage, Carter has little liver pills, or whatever that thing was that I used to hear when I was a kid. Do they still make those things? Liver pills? I have no idea. Whatever. So beware. President Obama, he's got that up his sleeve. He wouldn't have done all of that. That was a major undertaking. Getting all those representatives lined up and talked to and convinced to do it, and added on to the Patriot Act and everything else. You don't do all those things unless you plan to do it. That's always been my feeling. You don't do everything from A to Z unless you're going to do it. You don't load the gun unless you're going to fire it. So, that's probably a poor analogy, but whatever. So anyway, that's enough for now, but pass it around, show your friends, amaze them with your, you say, well, I found this on my own. Wow. No, you didn't, but you don't have to tell them that. I won't tell them. But it's the truth, and it's right there, and you can go to the house in Washington and look it up, and it's right there in black and white. And all it needs is President Obama. He needs martial law, and he needs, I'm not even sure if he needs that. He may not even need that. But he needs his signature on that executive order that makes that into a real law. And then at that point in time, if he has martial law, martial law also allows the president to declare, well, we can't have another election. President Nixon, as you may recall if you're old enough, almost did that in 1973 because of student rioting and so forth that was going on then. Almost called off the election in 73, which would have been not a good idea at all. But President Obama could do that and say, well, no election, and because of that, I'm going to remain president. And as the title said, as the title says, Obama, president for life. So be prepared, be ready. Hey, reality, life is life, and there you go. Well, I've got some more videos to do. I'm going to try to do a bunch of them this afternoon, so be ready for some more W0TM, which is also WOTM, whichever way you want to do it. Just watch for them because they're coming up. See you later. Bye.